My name is Chloe, and my life was a lie so pretty it belonged on a Pinterest board. From the outside, it was perfect. A gorgeous modern farmhouse in a bougie suburb. 2 shiny SUVs in the driveway. A golden retriever named Butters. A handsome, successful husband, Liam, who kissed me goodbye every morning before he headed to his tech startup. And me? I was the curator of this perfect little world. The CEO of the Mitchell household. But let me let you in on a little secret. The CEO title is a crock of shit. It's a fancy name for a glorified maid, chef, chauffeur, and emotional support animal, all rolled into one exhausted, underappreciated package. My day started at 5:30 a.m., not with a peaceful meditation, but with the sound of my 6-year-old daughter, Maya, having a nightmare. Again, by 6:15, I was negotiating with an 8-year-old terrorist, my son, Leo, about why he couldn't wear his dinosaur costume to school. By 7 o'clock, I was scrubbing scrambled egg off the ceiling. How does it even get up there? Liam would glide into the kitchen at 7:30, smelling of expensive cologne and quiet judgment. He'd give me that absent-minded peck on the cheek. "Rough morning, babe?" he'd ask, not really listening for an answer. He'd then proceed to tell me about his brutal schedule, his nightmare investors, his unbearable stress. My stress, the kind that involved literal human waste and potential public tantrums, didn't make the cut. "Don't forget," he'd say, heading out the door. "The Johnsons are coming for dinner tonight. Let's do that steak thing you make. And maybe try that new wine we got from Napa. Make a good impression, yeah?" He's a potential client. The door would close. The silence would ring in my ears. But it was a lie, too. The house was never silent. It was full of the ghosts of my old self. Before kids, before this house, I was Chloe Sanders, a freelance graphic designer with a kick-ass portfolio, and clients who actually respected me. I had ideas. I had a voice. Now my biggest creative decision was whether to make a dinosaur-shaped sandwich or a star-shaped one. The breaking point, the moment the pretty picture finally cracked, was a Tuesday. Of course it was a Tuesday. Tuesdays are the Mondays of the middle of the week. I'd spent the entire day prepping for the stupid dinner party. I'd cleaned the house until it sparkled, marinated the steaks, arranged the florist-delivered bouquet, and baked a chocolate soufflé from scratch because Liam said store-bought was tacky. I'd even managed to get both kids bathed and semi-presentable before he got home. Liam walked in, looked around, and his face fell. "You used the white plates?" I blinked. "Yes, they're clean. Chloe, the Johnsons are from old money. The white plates are so Suburban basic. I specifically said use the blue Italian china. It shows sophistication." I stared at him, a glob of mashed potato I was scrubbing off the wall still on my fingers. He was serious. He was genuinely upset about the plates. The dinner was a nightmare. I was running back and forth from the kitchen, refilling drinks, serving food, all while making polite chatter. Liam held court, talking about market volatility and his company's, quote, disruptive potential. Mr. Johnson, a portly man with a patronizing smile, kept looking at me like I was the help. At one point, Mrs. Johnson, a woman with lips so filled they barely moved, asked me, "And what is it you do, dear? Besides all this?" She waved a manicured hand around my kitchen, my home. Before I could even open my mouth, Liam chuckled. "Oh, Chloe's the real CEO around here. She runs a tight ship." He said it like it was a cute little joke. Everyone at the table laughed, a soft, condescending sound. I felt my face heat up. I wasn't a CEO. I was a prop. Later, after the Johnsons left, the deal secured, of course, Liam was euphoric. "Nailed it," he said, pouring himself a whiskey. "Did you see Johnson's face when I mentioned our Q3 projections?" "We're in." I was at the sink, up to my elbows in soapy water, scratching the freaking blue Italian china. "That's great, Liam," I said, my voice flat. He came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. "You were great tonight, babe. The food was amazing. You really came through." Came through, like I was a backup player who'd finally performed. The rage that bubbled up in me was so sudden and so violent it scared me. It was a hot, sharp thing in my chest. I pulled away. "I'm tired. I'm going to bed." His smile faded. "What's your problem? I just gave you a compliment." "A compliment?" I whispered, turning to face him. "Liam, I have a degree in graphic design. I used to have clients who paid me thousands of dollars for my ideas. Tonight, my biggest achievement was using the correct plates." He rolled his eyes, the universal sign for, "Here we go again." "Don't start, Chloe. Not tonight. This is the life we built. This is what you wanted. Is it?" The question hung in the air between us, heavy and dangerous. He just shook his head, downed his whiskey, and walked out of the kitchen. "I'm not having this conversation. You're just stressed." Alone in the kitchen, I looked at my reflection in the dark window. I saw a woman with tired eyes, wearing an apron over a dress she'd worn to impress her husband's client. I didn't recognize her. That night, after Liam was snoring beside me, I did something I hadn't done in years. I crept into the walk-in closet, moved a box of old winter boots, and pulled out my old portfolio. The leather was dusty, but the work inside was still vibrant, still alive. It was me, before I was erased. Tears I didn't know I had left started to fall, dripping onto the pages. They weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of pure, unadulterated fury. This wasn't stress. This was a prison sentence. And I was about to become my own damn escape artist. The morning after the Plategate disaster, I woke up with a new kind of clarity. The fuzzy, exhausted resentment was gone, replaced by a cold, hard focus. I was done crying. It was time to plan. My revenge wouldn't be loud or messy. It would be quiet, methodical, and devastating. I wouldn't just leave Liam. I would build a life so solid, so mine, that walking away from his would feel like an upgrade. Phase 1. Financial warfare. Liam controlled all the money. It was our money. But he was the general, and I was a lowly private who had to request supplies. My allowance was a joint credit card for groceries and household stuff. I had no access to the investment accounts, the savings, nothing. It was how he maintained control, disguised as taking the financial stress off my plate. Joke was on him. I was about to take the whole table. I started small. I became a coupon-clipping, discount-hunting maniac. If I could save $20 on groceries, I'd buy a $20 Visa gift card with the cash I'd saved. I'd stash it in an old shoebox in the back of my closet. It was pathetic, but it was a start. My Screw You fund had its first $100, but that was chump change. I needed real capital. I remembered my old freelance profiles. With trembling hands, I logged into one. The last login was 7 years ago. My heart ached, looking at my old work. I was good. Really good. I spent nap times and late nights updating my portfolio. I created a new, secret email. I reached out to my old network, my voice shaking as I typed. Hey, it's Chloe Sanders. I'm looking to take on a few small projects. The first reply made me yelp, scaring the dog. It was from a former client, Ben, who now ran a successful small business. Chloe, holy crap. It's great to hear from you. I need a new logo and branding package like yesterday. My new guy is a disaster. Budget is $5,000. Can you do it? $5,000. I typed back, my fingers flying. Absolutely. Send me the brief. For the next 3 weeks, I lived a double life. By day, I was Supermom, the PTA's favorite baker, the wife who remembered to buy Liam's weird probiotic yogurt. By night, after the kids were asleep and Liam was zoning out in front of the TV, I was Chloe Sanders, badass designer. I worked from my laptop at the kitchen table, a single small lamp, illuminating my designs. The thrill was electric. I was using my brain again. I was solving problems, creating beauty, making decisions that mattered. The $5,000 hit my secret PayPal account. I transferred it immediately to a new, online-only bank account, under my maiden name. The shoebox was retired. The digital fortress was under construction. Phase 2, intelligence gathering. I needed to know what I was dealing with. I needed to understand our finances. One Saturday, I told Liam I was feeling overwhelmed by the household paperwork. Maybe it would help me feel more involved if I could just see where all the money goes. For my own peace of mind? He puffed up, proud to be the magnanimous teacher. Of course, babe. It's a lot, but I'll walk you through it. He gave me view-only access to the banking app. It was like opening a treasure chest. I saw everything. His salary, the investment accounts, the mortgage, the staggering amount in his business account. I took screenshots of everything and emailed them to my secret account. The most interesting thing wasn't the money. It was the patterns. Every month, there was a $500 withdrawal to an account, listed only as S&C Holdings. It was always on a Friday. When I dug deeper into the credit card statements, which he'd forgotten to hide, I found the charges. Fancy dinners at restaurants I'd never been to, hotel charges for a place downtown, 2 tickets to a concert I'd begged to go to, for which he'd claimed he was too busy with work. My blood ran cold, then hot. It wasn't just emotional neglect. It was a full-blown affair. Confronting him would be stupid. It would tip my hand. Instead, I used the information as fuel. Every fancy dinner he had with her, every hotel room, every lie, added another zero to the price tag of my freedom. My rage was no longer a hot bubble. It was a cold, hard diamond, perfect for cutting glass. Phase 3, building the army. I couldn't do this alone. I needed a lawyer, not just any lawyer, a shark. I used my freelance money to pay for a 1-hour consultation with a ruthless divorce attorney named Linda Croft. I laid it all out, the financial control, the evidence of the affair, the screenshots. Linda didn't even blink. This is good. He's sloppy. We can nail him on dissipation of marital assets for the affair spending. With you having no income on paper, we'll go for strong spousal support and a hefty chunk of his business. Don't say a word to him. Keep building your own case. And for God's sake, keep that freelance money hidden. I left her office feeling like I had just enlisted a Navy SEAL. The final piece of my army was my best friend, Maria. I'd been distant from her, too ashamed to admit how miserable I was. I invited her for coffee and broke down, telling her everything. The plates, the secret work, the affair, the lawyer. She grabbed my hand, her eyes blazing. It's about damn time. What do you need? I need a witness, I said. And I need you to be my rock when I feel like I'm going to break. You got it, sister. Let's burn his kingdom to the ground. I was no longer just a prisoner planning an escape. I was a general preparing for war. And my enemy was still patting me on the head, completely unaware that the quiet, accommodating wife he took for granted was about to serve him with papers he'd never see coming. Living a double life is a special kind of hell. It's like you're an actor in a play that never ends, and you're terrified you'll forget your lines. The stress was a constant, humming undercurrent in my life. I lost weight. I started getting migraines. Smiling at Liam felt like chewing glass. But with every secret victory, I grew stronger. My freelance work took off. Ben recommended me to 2 other business owners. My Screw You fund grew from thousands to tens of thousands. I was now making almost as much as I had before I had kids, and I was doing it during nap times and after bedtime. The irony was so thick, you could cut it with a knife. I used the money strategically. I paid a retainer to Linda the Shark. I bought a cheap, pay-as-you-go burner phone to communicate with her and my clients. I started secretly meeting with a realtor, looking at small, cute townhouses I could afford on my own. The affair, once a source of gut-wrenching pain, became my greatest weapon. I didn't confront him. Instead, I became the perfect, understanding wife. Oh, working late again? Don't worry about us, honey. We'll be fine. I'd say it with a sweet, vacant smile, all while mentally adding another few $100s to my spousal support calculations. I even used it to my advantage. One weekend, he told me he had a work retreat out of town. A quick check of our shared phone plan, a tip from Maria, showed his phone was pinging from a romantic B&B, 2 hours away. Perfect. I hired a sitter, told her I had a doctor's appointment, and drove to the city for an in-person meeting with my biggest client yet. It was for a national ad campaign. The budget was life-changing. I walked into that sleek high-rise, wearing a blazer I'd bought with my secret money, and I pitched my heart out. I was Chloe Sanders, and I was a force to be reckoned with. I got the job. The fee was more than Liam's last bonus. The guilt about the kids was the hardest part. There were days I was so distracted by work emails I'd forget to sign a permission slip. I'd feel a stab of shame when Maya would ask, "Mommy, can you play?" And I'd have to say, "In a little bit, sweetie," knowing a little bit meant after she was asleep. But I kept a mantra in my head, given to me by Linda the Shark. A happy mother is a better mother. You are doing this for them too. You are showing them what a strong woman looks like. The cracks in my perfect wife performance were starting to show, but Liam was too wrapped up in his own world to notice. He was too busy playing house with his mistress, and coming home to a clean house and a hot meal, believing he was the king of his castle. The castle was about to get a foreclosure notice. The final piece fell into place on a random Thursday. I was cleaning out the garage, a task that was somehow always mine, and I found a box of Liam's old paperwork. Buried at the bottom was a folded, faded document. It was the original business plan for his startup. And there, listed as a founding partner and creative director, was my name, Chloe Sanders. I sat down on the concrete floor, dust motes dancing in the sunlight, and I read it. My ideas were all over it. The branding, the user interface concept, the marketing angle. It was all me. He'd taken my brain, my talent, built his empire on it, and then convinced me my place was to keep the home fires burning while he reaped all the rewards. The diamond of my rage, once cold, was now white hot. This wasn't just about plates or an affair anymore. This was about theft. He had stolen my career, my identity, and my future. I took a picture of the document and emailed it to Linda. Her reply was instant. Bingo. This changes everything. We can make a case for a portion of the company's valuation being directly tied to your intellectual property. Don't say a word. I didn't. I went back inside, made Liam's favorite lasagna, and listened to him talk about his day. I smiled and nodded. But inside, I was a volcano, waiting for the perfect moment to erupt. I had the money. I had the lawyer. I had the evidence. I had the army. The war was planned down to the last detail. All that was left was to choose the battlefield. The battlefield chose itself. It was the night of Liam's company's annual summer gala, the biggest event of his year. Every important investor, every board member, every colleague would be there. It was his night to shine, to be the brilliant, successful founder. He was giddy with excitement. "This is it, Chloe," he said, adjusting his tie in the mirror. "The Series B funding is basically in the bag after tonight. We're going to be set for life." I stood behind him, zipping up a stunning emerald green dress I'd bought with my own money. It was a color he'd once told me was too bold for me. I looked powerful. I looked like I meant business. "Set for life," I repeated, my voice calm. "Sounds great." The gala was at a swanky art museum. The room was buzzing with the sound of money and privilege. Liam was in his element, shaking hands, slapping backs, the golden boy. I stuck to his side, playing my part, the charming, silent wife. Halfway through the night, during the speeches, the CEO took the microphone. He was praising Liam, talking about his, quote, visionary leadership and innovative spirit. The crowd applauded. Liam beamed, squeezing my hand. Then the CEO said, "And of course, behind every great man is a great woman. Let's have a round of applause for Chloe, who holds down the fort so Liam can change the world." The room erupted in polite, patronizing applause. People looked at me with those same soft, pitying smiles. Liam turned to me, expecting to see my grateful, blushing face. He saw something else instead. I let go of his hand and started walking toward the podium. A murmur of confusion went through the crowd. Liam's smile faltered. "Chloe, what are you doing?" he hissed. I ignored him. I reached the podium and gently took the microphone from his stunned CEO. "Thank you for that lovely introduction," I said, my voice clear and amplified through the speakers. It wasn't my wife voice. It was my Chloe Sanders voice. The room quieted, intrigued. "He's right," I continued, looking out at the sea of curious faces. "Liam is a visionary. But what you might not know is where that vision came from." I could feel Liam's panic from across the room. He was frozen, a deer in the headlights. I pulled the burner phone from my clutch. With a few taps, I synced it to the museum's AV system. A massive image projected onto the wall behind me. It was a scan of the business plan, my name circled in red. "My name is Chloe Sanders," I said, the room utterly silent. "And 5 years ago, I co-wrote this business plan. The branding, the UX, the core creative concept, that was all me. Liam built this company on my ideas. And then he convinced me my place was at home, folding his laundry and making sure he used the right plates for dinner." Gasps rippled through the room. I could see investors shifting uncomfortably in their seats. "So while Liam was out being a visionary," I said, making air quotes, "I was at home, building something else. My own design firm." I clicked to the next image, a slick logo for Sanders Design Company. "And I'm proud to announce that we just landed the national campaign for Aura Wellness." The buzz in the room was no longer polite. It was shocked. Aura Wellness was a huge get. Everyone knew it. I turned to look directly at Liam. His face was a grotesque mask of horror and fury. "So Liam," I said, my voice sweet but deadly, "you're right. We are set for life. Just not the life you planned." I dropped the microphone. It let out a deafening thud. And in that perfect, silent aftermath, I turned and walked. I didn't look back. I walked straight through the crowd, out the grand doors, and into the warm night air. I left behind a scandal, a crumbling reputation, and a husband who had just been publicly dismantled by the quiet wife he thought he owned. The explosion was everything I dreamed of, and I didn't even get dust on my dress. The fallout was immediate and brutal. For Liam. My phone blew up the second I got into the rideshare I'd pre-booked. Texts from Liam, "You crazy bitch. You ruined me." Voicemails from his partners, screaming about the investors pulling out. It was a symphony of chaos, and I was the conductor. I turned my phone off. For the first time in years, I slept peacefully. The next morning, I drove the kids to school like it was any other day. I'd already packed a bag for them and me. I picked them up that afternoon and didn't go home. I drove to the fully furnished, cute little townhouse I'd secretly rented. "We're going on a fun adventure," I told them, my voice light and genuine for the first time in forever. They were confused but excited by the new place. That night, we ate pizza on the floor and built a massive pillow fort in the living room. Their laughter echoed in the space that was ours, and only ours. It was messy, and imperfect, and real. 2 days later, a process server delivered the divorce papers to Liam's office. Linda the shark had moved fast. The petition cited adultery, financial misconduct, and beautifully, sought a portion of the company's valuation based on my foundational intellectual property. Liam fought back, of course. He was vicious. He called me an unfit mother, Claiming my secret life proved I was unstable. But I was ready. I had time-stamped design files. I had bank statements. I had the business plan. I had records of his hotel stays and fancy dinners with his mistress, whose name I now knew was Stacy. The court wasn't impressed with his unfit mother argument, especially when my income was now substantial and stable. And the kid's teacher testified that they were happy, well-adjusted, and that I was an engaged and loving parent. The divorce was finalized in a matter of months. It wasn't a fight. It was a slaughter. I was awarded primary custody, spousal support for 5 years, a massive lump sum cash settlement, and most satisfying of all, a 15% stake in the company he'd built on my back. The company whose value had tanked after the Gala scandal, but was already rebounding under new leadership that had promptly pushed Liam out. I used the settlement as a down payment on a beautiful, light-filled house with a big backyard for the kids, and a real, proper home office for me. Sanders' design company thrived. I hired 2 other designers. I was my own boss. I answered to no one. It wasn't all easy. The kids missed their dad, and navigating co-parenting with a man who hated my guts was a nightmare. There were lonely nights. There were moments of doubt. The scars from the years of being erased were still there. But I was free. I was myself. About a year after the divorce, I ran into Liam at a school play. He looked diminished, smaller. The arrogant swagger was gone. He was with Stacy, who looked bored. He saw me across the auditorium, and I gave him a small, polite nod. Nothing more. I didn't need to. My life was my victory speech. After the play, as I was walking to my car hand in hand with my laughing, sticky-faced kids, I felt a sense of peace so profound it almost brought me to my knees. This was the life I had saved myself for. This was the woman I had fought to get back. My revenge wasn't about destroying him. It was about rebuilding me. I had sacrificed my comfort, my sleep, my temporary peace of mind. I had played the long game, and I had won the only thing that ever really mattered: my own soul, my own name, and a life that was authentically, unapologetically mine. The quiet wife had found her voice, and damn, it was loud.